Welcome back to Day 9 Daily number 708, where we are successfully learning to be a better gamer. Yeah! Woo! Very excited about today's show, because it just shows how incredibly good Parting is. As much as you might want to talk about his mechanics, or the Soul Train, I think that it is Parting's ability to play within the metagame that makes him so strong. Because StarCraft 2 requires such fine precision. If you miss a single storm in that 11-minute Terran all-in, you're dead. The game's over. It's done. This shit. So as a player, it's very easy in this extremely harsh environment to clutch to the practiced, tried and true backbone of a repetitive strategy. One that you can do a lot, and it's pretty solid, pretty solid, damn good. Nice. Even though that verbiage is weird. And what just impresses me so much about Parting is his willingness to take these kinds of strong risks. It's a risk not because it has a high chance of failure. As we will see, Parting has a very high win rate. As you historically look at him, he's always been performing very well. What makes it risky is that you just have to trust yourself and trust your intuition about how broadly everybody's playing. So when we look at this map, Merry-Go-Round, we can see a couple of important things, such as the natural expansion having quite some distance to the third. There's no clever placement of some spines that can defend it. Even the natural expansion doesn't really get the utility of this ramp as one of its buddies. Also, from a Protoss player's point of view, Protoss would say, God, that's an awkward thing to wall off. You know what really sucks? If my opponent goes for very fast speedlings, I can wall off, sure, and get a cannon up, sure, but then he's going to run in, and that cannon that defends the front, that cannon cannot defend this nexus. So speedling plays are a real pain in the ass. This is one of the best maps to go for, like 10-pool speedling with Zerg against Protoss, and then just play normally. So we see Parting doing a rather typical play. Going for gateway, going for assimilator. Notice a couple of very small minutia. This is one slot wide. A Zealot can plant itself here and block off a 6-pool. It's a very clean, straightforward rally. This pylon is arguably vulnerable. However, the pylon is right next to the entrance where the Zealot would be. So the Zealot has a minimum distance to travel out to defend gateway aggression, and the minimum distance to travel out to defend pylon aggression. Again, from 6 pools. Parting is not ever really going to have super reliable, sneaky man scouting. He can't do cute things like run a probe here and stuff like that, because there's very awkward timings that things arrive. Very awkward angles. A regular move down the front is going to be just as effective as a little sneak around the backside. And another thing that I like from Parting, his consistency with the pylon placement to maximize the area around which he can build. So we see the Zealot getting built. Almost always what happens is the Zealot gets very close to done, and then it gets cancelled. This probe moving down, and then it gets... he finishes it. How interesting. How interesting. This is interesting for a number of reasons. First of all, what most of the time happens is the Nexus goes down, and then the Mothership Core comes out, and then all these other gears start churning. But here we see Parting getting a pretty early warp gate. Already having the Zealot out. Notice the Zealot is in the main base. This probe is the only thing that's at the front side. Little movements. Very sexy, very suave. Very cool. Only once he has them together is he willing to really move out. Pylon plants at the front. Very, I guess I'd call it painfully awkward timing. with the front pylon because getting just barely past that 26 of 34, excuse me, 26 of 26 mark is a little bit annoying. So parting moves and scouts and sees, it doesn't look like there's anything. Okay, there's nothing. And then in a very typical move, a very Protostly move, parting gets up a very fast stalker. This is a fantastic play for shutting things out. Just making sure your opponent doesn't know what you're up to. And we see indeed parting going for a very, very far tucked back robo facility. And I think actually it might make most sense if I show this mini-map first, where these are all the regions where the scouting overlords will move in. Or maybe back here might sneak in. So this robo facility is as far away from the average of all those. Nice little play. But I really like this, again, in this high ground area. Very tucked back. And I'm going to tell you right now, parting is going to go for a super aggressive Immortal Warp Prism kind of play. He's already repelled the Overlords, which miss out on a fairly key piece of information when the hell these gateways go down. And I'm continually coming back here because there's some super crazy thingies that are about to occur. Yeah, parting gets his gateways up. That's pretty normal. Wall off at the front. We see there's the, yep, stalker patrolling at the back. There we go. As parting gets up to 200 gas, he just pulls all of his probes off mining gas. All of them. Every single frickin' one. And then he rallies his probes to his expansions. Or, excuse me, to his minerals. If you're going to go Immortal Zealot, there's no need to beat around the bush with things. Go Immortal Zealot. Spending all his Chrono Boost to get these 2 Immortals out as fast as frickin' possible. This is going to come real fast. Now, one thing that I was wondering to myself, why is this Cybernetics core out so early? Why was the Warp Gate out so early? If you look at this, parting is doing some small adjustments on a pretty standard 1-gate fast robo expand into an all-in. What I want is I want to come back to this period of time where we're looking at the parting cam. Parting has absolutely no vision of his enemy. None whatsoever. He moves out quite a bit later. See the warp gate still going on. And he encounters the worst case scenario. My enemy is unscouted for the longest amount of time. It seems weird to have this Cybernetics core just hanging out here. But in fact, the Cybernetics core is just going to provide a little bit of valuable backup in the case of some all-ins. So he scouts up here. He doesn't see the third. He just finds the location of his enemy. And then notice this warp gate has 15 more seconds left on it. This gateway has a little over 15 more seconds left on it. It coordinates so parting can deal with an annoying Ling Roach surprise attack that happens really, really fast. And suddenly we realize, man, that distance that we talked about at the start of the game, that's really significant. Normally, if your opponent goes for something like a Ling Roach bust, your Nexus is like here, and you just photon overcharge it, and then all the stuff dies off. But on this map, you can actually jam roaches here, and just attack this, and these debris, and then you can swarm on in, and pop down. And if your opponent overcharges, you just sit here and kill off the gateways. So this is this nice, quick warp gate allows parting to have everything that he just barely needs in order to stay alive. And of course, he could have gotten the Mothership core up a little bit earlier, but he still has the same amount of photon overcharge energy either way. So in terms of early defense, it doesn't matter if you go for Warp Gate first, or whether you go for Mothership core first. So then we see that parting gets 16 probes here. There's the 16. He gets... he's gonna get 16 probes here. And then he just builds a bunch of damn gateways. And last but not least, a Prism du Warping will be joining on in. And at the 7:45 mark, Parting is moving out with a very intimidating force. Is not even waiting for the Warp Prism. Is going straight out. Has the Observer as well. Very useful for seeing on high ground vision and stuff. And off to the races he goes. 16 mining minerals here, 16 mining minerals here. Just a perfectly executed start to an all-in. And to be fair, Bial has answered this with a really nice defense. Like, very nice. Bial has, like, hardly any dudes. So he has hardly any drones. I shouldn't say dudes. Dudes is a little bit vague. Right away, Manbon in chat is asking about what's the reason behind cutting dudes in gas. Because there's no gas being used in this build order. It's 200 gas for the Immortal and another 75 gas for the Observer. That's really all you need for the Robo. So again, to be clear, Bial cut a lot. He is going 41 drones. And one thing that I think is very easy to ask yourself, well, why did Parting wait so long on the Warp Prism? Because the Warp Prism's true purpose is not for warping in. It's for microing the Immortals. You'll see the Mothership Core doing a very good job with the time warps. This is pretty straightforward micro, but it's Parting's like really nice macro that's really kicking in. He's doing a very good job target firing down roaches with the Immortals, spending most of his time focused there. And Bial, to his credit, has so freaking many roaches. But look at how not in phasing mode that Warp Prism is. It's so sexy. Another thing that we're noting back home, full Nexi. This, I think, is an immediate autopilot moment for most people. I'm all in, I'm going to Chrono Boost. No money to do that. I'm going to do something a little weird. I'm going to select all these gateways. They're still charging back up. And now is when we see all 7 gateways done. Only 600 resources. Can't quite warp in all the things. And again, thank goodness we have this pro building these pylons here. Thank freaking goodness. So in the circumstance of the most devoted defense, really, really hard, going down to 41 drones to try to hold this one off. It looks like Bial's done it. He's got his roach speed upgrade. Parting just keeps on coming. Hoping to target fire down this hatch at least a little bit if you could. Don't forget about that Mothership Core. She's doing some nice work. Again, we see the warp in from the Warp Prism, but the only time that we actually saw it is when the Immortals were close enough to walk themselves up in. This is not actually that difficult of micro to do. And I'm not saying that to belittle how good Parting is. I'm saying it to be encouraging to you. When suddenly things seem to go awry, remember all that Chrono Boost that we had? Well, we obviously spent some of it on the all-in, but we weren't going crazy, and now Parting just Chrono Boosts his little heart out. Rejiggering together his economy. It's pretty much all roaches right now. One of the worst forces to have, an only roach force. There's no expansion, and if there is ever the expansion, Parting just micros his way to victory. Remember these plays? Yeah. Something to emphasize about this cool Warp Prism harassment that you see out of Parting. this Warp Prism harass sucks almost always, because in almost all circumstances, your enemy has Hydras or Queens or is getting the Spire. But remember, Parting did one of the most aggressive all-in 745. He was moving down his ramp with 7 gates and 2 Immortals done. Because of that super aggressive play, Parting has the opportunity to do this. Because BL almost certainly has a largely Roach army. By almost certainly, I mean, well, I guess he can have some links. And then a couple of Chrono Boosts later, and we have 16 in each expansion. Same as before. And we just move out with round 2 of the all-in. By the way, Immortals counter Roaches. By the way, according to F12. So it's the same thing as before, except now it has 5 Immortals. It has some force fields, but not even really that many significant force fields. The Zealots are way more important to the success of this than the force fielding is. Really, really hot! So good. So what I want to do right now is I want to... here it is. Supernova. We're going to watch this gorgeous quick game. And I want to talk again about the idea of the metagame and how it accounts for what we're about to see. Once upon a time, our dear Protoss players said, ooh, I know the best strategy ever. It's to go for a blink play, and to blink up into his base and to kill him off. We saw that have a lot of success. Not just, actually pretty much any kind of blink play was just terrorizing Terrans. We were seeing Protosses go for a very economic play, get blink first, get blink first, and then go into a very typical Robo, upgrade, Twilight, all that sort of good stuff. The Protoss would just apply pressure with 3 gates. We saw players go for big blink plays, where they would go for 5-gate, all-in style. We saw economic openings with 3-gate blink, suddenly bursting into Templar tech. You know, there's just a lot of... There's a lot of emphasis put on the blink until Terran players began to go Widow Mines a little bit more frequently. We saw players like MMA open up 1 barracks and then a factory and then play normally and just use the mines to repel. We started to see, I think most importantly of all, Terrans do the Pult style. And the Pult style is to focus more on barracks add-ons early, so that way you can get a lot of Marauders and Marines, even before Medivacs, or sometimes even before Stims out, and you run out to the middle of the map, you run out, and you kill off the blink before it ever gets started. So all this crap I'm talking about is going to be crunched down into 2 sentences. Protosses used to like to go blink because it was good, until Terrans seemed to have an answer. Now, Protosses are much less likely to do aggressive blink and have returned back to that good old standard tried and true play. So here's what we're going to see Supernova do. Supernova is, it's like a step in dance where you lead, you know, where you just sort of, if you've ever done dance, I want you to know it's a lot like being the dog whisperer, right? You just push the other person and they're just supposed to just fall into it. That's just how it goes, man. And if they don't, you just push them again. And of course, I did like this little intro ballroom thing. And of course, as the guy, they also make you not have the lead. So then you just get pushed around and you're like, oh, getting swung around and shit. And that's what it looks as though Supernova's going to do. He's like, yes, I have the lead. And he's going to push with a little bit of Marine Marauder, and what's supposed to happen is Parting's supposed to be like, alright, dude, I give, you're right, I wasn't supposed to go blink. We're going to see a very subtle, but powerful, powerful, powerful twist on the Blink Stalker play that perfectly utilizes this map and the expected answers of Terran. Now, in general, Blink is going to be pretty good on this map. There's a clear Blink entrance, there's a clear pressure entrance, and very simply, the distance between these two for the blinking player is very small, and the distance between these two for the defending Terran is quite large. He has to go over to here, and then cut down, and then cut in. They're almost equal. It's a little bigger for the defending Terran, but Blink Stalkers are faster, so that's what makes it feel larger. It's already going to be pretty good, but let's watch Parting do it much smarterly. It's not going to be a big change. It's going to be a little tiny change. Double 15 gas, pretty normal. Scouting around, getting a pylon here. You know why this is a great place to build a pylon? Because, well, can check for incoming Reapers, and we can always warp in and do counterattacks later on in the game. Hell, if there's a player doing some sort of siege tank marine stuff, we can always go Zealot, Zealot, and do a very long counterattack into his natural, which is quite effective. Cybernetics core goes down, so good. 2 in each gas, so standard. Zealot gets started. Oh god, I've seen this 1,000 times. Now what's the Protoss player supposed to do? He's supposed to cancel the Zealot and build a very fast expansion. Instead we see Parting Ker and a chrono-boosted Mothership Core and Warp Gate. Well, okay. Okay, I'll accept that. There's even a third pylon going down. This is the way MC likes to expand. A little bit delayed, but we can apply a little bit of pressure. And now that 3 are in the gas, Parting goes for a real quick 4-minute and 20-second Twilight Council. Now again, what the Protoss is supposed to do is quick expand, get a Stalker, cut gateway production, get the Twilight, maybe get another Stalker, and then get 2 more gateways, and then around like 8 minutes, 8:15, starts moving out with some Blink. And if any of that happens sooner, don't worry. Terran is going to do the lead and push. Push back, and Protoss is supposed to respond. Protoss is not supposed to get a very quick second Stalker. This is pretty much never done. I mean, the Reaper's like, oh, dude, you don't have the expansion yet. And look at this. Supernova has his 3 barracks coming up. He has his bunker. Arriva thing. And wait, look at this. I mean, the Nexus went down, but then a 3rd Stalker went right on up. That is a really fast 3 Stalker play. A really fast Mothership Core. Here's Mr. Reaper. Mr. Reaper! Parting gets to do this. Parting gets to have his Mothership Core be on the opposite side of the map. Parting gets to dip in and see what's going on. Why? Because he's got 3 Stalkers, man. What the hell's gonna... What's gonna apply pressure to him? He's just getting Blink. Chrono boosting Blink. I think this Reaper... Does this Reaper get in? I think it dies. And, yeah, gets killed off. So now we have those 2 very fast Stalkers. A 3rd one. Getting close to done. Oh, and I want to emphasize something a little bit subtle. Here's when the Nexus went down. Here's the Stalker that goes down. Parting is waiting, and waiting, and waiting. And then he's waiting, almost has his Stalker out. Oh wait, is that... Oh, sorry, I did it on the wrong time. Whoopsie damn daisies. Sorry, it's the second one he canceled. Yeah, there's a lot of build canceling that's going on nowadays, and I like to highlight it because it's cool. Here's number 1. Here's number 2. Gets started and canceled pretty quickly now that the Reaper's been repelled. And there's Stalker number 2. There we go. Not too big of a delay, not too significant of a cancel, but a conditional that's important to point out nonetheless. So here's what's supposed to happen. Supernova's like, oh dude, I'm pult, I'm getting concussive shells, and I'm gonna push out with all my fancy schmancy Marine Marauder. That's what's supposed to happen. The Protoss player is supposed to be like, oh, of course, you are scary and powerful. How could I ever doubt your might? But what Parting does is with these early 3 gates, he actually just warps in another 3 Stalkers. He's going to have actually a lot of Stalkers. Normally, the Protoss has cut so many corners, and those gateways are so late, that there's maybe 6. Parting is supposed to be moving out with like 3, 4 Stalkers. And we see that Parting just straight engages this force that has no stim, not in any main base, right at the front. And the play that's supposed to work gets like engaged really hard. Now normally, right around now is when we tend to see the blink kick into action. But the Stalker number kicked in way sooner than that, and Supernova's in really bad shape. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Hoopity boopity doo. Parting builds the Stalkers, and thusly he'll kill you. Micro-y, micro-y, micro-y. Up and down the hill. Everything back for Parting-san is looking pretty, I guess, chill. Pretty fulfilled. I think perhaps the most salient aspect, given that salient is a really fun thing to say, is that Parting has not built a robo, he's not built a forge, he hasn't even built 2 extra geysers. There might not even be anything wrong with going for expand and mass speed zealot to try to defend after this. That might even be the strongest play. Or just Templar into Storm into a relatively fast third. Although this is kicking a lot of ass, unless Parting does lots of damage, Parting is not in good shape. Parting is delaying a lot of stuff in order to have this be this strong. So it's not merely Parting being some sort of magical hacker who is inventing money for himself. It's saying, okay, well, this is the play that's going to be strong on this map, and I know the way you're supposed to answer it, so I'm going to do a play that directly goes head-on with that Pult-style concussive shell Marauder defense, and I'm just going to punish you at the front. And this is a huge shock to Supernova to see this. Beautiful, just gorgeous, brilliant, sexy, conducive to boners. Not good in a metagame where most Terran players are doing different answers, where most Terran players might even just be playing pretty standard. Perfect for this sort of condition. We got to see it there. Even if Supernova didn't move out and try to greet head-on, which we saw resulted in this particularly bad engagement here. Even if this engagement never ends up happening, Parting is still doing a blink play hyper early at 7 minutes. So even against more typical plays, should be pretty good. When we come back, we're going to watch a very swift Protoss vs. Terran by Parting, and then I'm going to go probably eat food, even though I'm not hungry. I'm pretty good.